I'm Sarah. I'm 28 years old. And last Thanksgiving, while I was setting the table like I did every single year, my dad did something that would change my life forever. He recorded me, posted it online, and captioned it in a way that made my blood run cold. My siblings? They laughed. They actually laughed. I got so angry I just left, walked right out. But that wasn't even the worst part. The next day, my sister sent me a message that made me absolutely lose it. And what I discovered after that? It destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family. But before I get into this whole mess, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. So let me take you back to Thanksgiving morning. Austin, Texas, my parents' house. And like every single year for the past decade, I was the one setting the table. Plates, glasses, silverware, napkins folded just right because God forbid anything looked out of place. That was my job. That's what I did. Every single holiday. And where was everyone else? Oh, let me paint you a picture. My sister Jessica was sprawled out on the living room couch, phone in her face, fake laughing at TikToks or whatever. My brother Mike? Screaming at the TV because his football team was losing. Again. My dad Tom was already 3 beers deep, and it wasn't even noon yet, just cracking them open one after another like it was water. My mom Linda was the only one actually helping, quietly sliding the turkey into the oven without saying a word. I should have known that day would be different. I should have felt it. But I was so used to being invisible that I didn't even notice my dad standing in the doorway of the dining room. I didn't see him holding up his phone. I had no idea he was filming me while I straightened the centerpiece and lined up the forks. I was just doing what I always did, being the family servant. Dinner finally rolled around. Everyone sat down. Turkey looked good. Mom did great as always. And I'm sitting there across from my cousin Emily when she leans over and whispers, "Sarah, have you checked Facebook?" My stomach dropped. I don't know why. I just knew something was wrong. I pulled out my phone under the table, and there it was. A notification. My dad had tagged me in a post. I clicked it. 14 seconds. That's how long the video was. 14 seconds of me folding napkins and arranging forks like some kind of maid. And the caption? Oh, the caption made me want to throw my phone across the room. Look at this failure. She was always a servant. I stared at it, read it again, and again. Failure. Servant. Those words, from my own father, posted publicly for everyone to see. And it got worse. My brother Mike had already commented. LMAO, she still thinks she matters. 3 laughing emojis. My sister Jessica replied right under him. Skull emojis. Not wrong, though. They were laughing. Right there at the table. Like I wasn't even sitting 5 feet away from them. Like I wasn't even human. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I just stood up, grabbed my purse from the counter, and walked out. No one said a word. No one followed me. I got in my car and drove. 20 minutes to Round Rock, to my Aunt Rebecca's house. She was the only one who ever treated me like I mattered. That night I couldn't sleep. I just laid there in my Aunt Rebecca's guest room, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. My phone was face down next to me because I couldn't stand to look at it. But my mind wouldn't stop replaying everything. The video, the caption, their laughter. And here's the thing. Nobody in my family understood. Being the family punching bag doesn't just happen overnight. It builds. Slowly. One joke at a time. One dismissive comment. One time you let something slide because you don't want to cause drama. And then another. And another. Until one day you wake up and realize you've become the person everyone feels comfortable disrespecting. Because you let them. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that while they were treating me like I was nothing, I was working. I was grinding. 55 hours a week between Target and a coffee shop in downtown Austin. I wasn't buying new clothes. I wasn't going out. I wasn't taking vacations. I was saving every single dollar. $34,000. That's what I had in my private account. The one they didn't know about. They thought I was broke. They thought I was stupid. They thought I had nothing. They were wrong. The next morning, 8:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. I didn't even want to open it, but I did. And when I read it, I felt something inside me snap. Why can't I withdraw $5,000 from your account? Your account. Not our account. Mine. Because that's what it had always been in her mind. Her personal ATM machine. I called her immediately. My hands were shaking, but my voice, ice cold. I said, "The joint account is closed. Everything's been moved. You're not touching my money ever again." Silence. Then her voice came back, screeching through the speaker. She sent 6 texts in a row after I hung up, calling me selfish, manipulative, bitter. Said she needed the money for emergencies. You know what her emergency was? A down payment on a new BMW and Coachella tickets. That's what she needed $5,000 for. Then my dad texted. Not to ask if I was okay. Not to apologize for humiliating me in front of hundreds of people online. Just, "You've always been so dramatic. Grow up." That's when I knew. They weren't going to change. They weren't going to apologize. They weren't going to see me as anything other than the failure servant they'd decided I was. But they had no idea what was coming. They thought this was just another one of my moods. They thought I'd come crawling back in a few days like I always did. They were about to learn how wrong they were. By Sunday, they started to feel it. The house was different without me. No one doing dishes, no one vacuuming, no one organizing anything. For the first time in years, they actually had to take care of themselves. And they hated it. I ignored every single message, every call. I stayed at my aunt's, and I let them sit in their mess. Then Sunday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a group chat notification. I wasn't even in this group chat. Someone had added me. And the first thing I saw made my blood boil. Photos. Multiple photos. Of my bedroom, back at their house in Dallas. Completely destroyed. Drawers yanked open and dumped on the floor. My mirror smashed into pieces. Clothes ripped and scattered everywhere like garbage. My bookshelf tipped over. Everything I owned, trashed. My brother Mike had captioned it, "Spring cleaning should have taken your crap with you." And my sister Jessica replied, "Don't worry, we saved your precious diaries, lol." I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight. This was the first time since I left that I actually wanted to cry. Not because of the video, not because of the money, but because they destroyed my things. They went into my private space and demolished it like I was nothing. Like my life meant nothing. I called my cousin Brandon. He lives in Plano, just a few blocks from my parents' house. I asked him if he could go check and see if there was anything left. Anything at all. He didn't hesitate. 15 minutes later, he texted me a photo. My laptop, my passport, my birth certificate, and a few random documents sitting in the passenger seat of his Honda. "This is all I could save," he wrote. "Don't come back. They've lost it." He told me they'd gone through every single drawer. They opened my lockbox where I kept old letters and photos from childhood. My sister was joking about burning my journals in the backyard. Burning them, like they were trash. I sat there holding my phone, feeling something shift inside me. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. No, I was furious. And I was done. That night my mom called. Her voice was shaking. She said, "Sarah, I didn't know they were going to do that. I tried to stop them. Your dad said it was time to teach you a lesson. Teach me a lesson. Like I was a child who needed to be punished. I didn't yell at her. I didn't say anything. I just stayed silent. And that silence said everything I couldn't put into words. I still loved her. Part of me would always love her. But something between us had broken. Forever. The next morning, I moved out of my Aunt Rebecca's place. Don't get me wrong, she was amazing. But I needed more space, more distance. So I moved in with my Uncle David and Aunt Margaret in Georgetown. It's a quieter suburb outside Austin. They had a guest room with its own entrance. Privacy. Peace. They refused to let me pay rent. You rest first, my uncle said. We'll figure the money stuff out later. Then he told me something I didn't expect. He said, You know your dad still owes me $8,500, right? I stared at him. I had no idea. He explained. 4 years ago, their roof caved in during a bad storm. My dad begged him for a loan. Promised he'd pay it back in 6 months. That was 4 years ago. Not a single cent repaid. Not even an acknowledgement. My uncle looked me dead in the eye and said, I'm calling that debt forgiven. And not in a good way. Let him feel what it's like to be cut off. That's when I realized this was bigger than just me. My dad hadn't just hurt me. He'd hurt everyone around him. And now, people were choosing sides. And they weren't choosing him. Wednesday rolled around. My sister Jessica sent me a screenshot. A declined transaction at Sephora, $247.83. The caption, You're really this petty? I needed that serum. I blocked her. Didn't even respond. Just blocked. Thursday. My brother Mike posted on his Instagram story a screenshot of my Facebook profile with text over it. Imagine ruining Thanksgiving over some napkins. Then he DM'd me. We didn't even say anything that bad. Grow thicker skin. Come back and talk like a normal person. Normal person. This was coming from the same brother who made me pay his car insurance for 3 months while he blew money on speakers and alcohol. The same brother who called me boring because I didn't want to go into debt for fun. I didn't reply. I just logged out of everything. Then my cousin Brandon texted me something that made me laugh for the first time in days. He said, Your dad asked me if you're planning to sue him. Sue. That was the word my dad used. He was panicking. Someone must have told him that destroying someone's belongings, even in your own house, could have legal consequences, especially if any of it was valuable or irreplaceable. I wasn't planning to sue. Not yet, anyway. But the fact that he was scared? That felt good. Friday morning I got an email. And when I saw who it was from, my jaw dropped. My dad's boss. At Henderson Construction in Dallas. The email was short, professional. He said he'd seen the Facebook video before my dad deleted it. Someone in the office had shared it around. And he just wanted to check in and ask if I was okay. I didn't respond. But knowing that my dad had humiliated himself publicly, knowing that his co-workers had seen him mock his own daughter online, that was a strange kind of peace. I didn't need revenge. He was destroying himself. Monday morning, my cousin Brandon texted me. He'd stopped by my parents' house to return some tool he'd borrowed months ago. When he came back to his car, there was an envelope tucked under his windshield wiper. Thick envelope, my name written on the front in my dad's handwriting. Brandon brought it straight to me. I sat there staring at it for a long time. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to read whatever excuses or manipulations were inside. But I had to know. Inside were 4 handwritten pages and 2 photographs. Real printed photos. One was from the hospital the day I was born. My mom holding me, smiling. The other was from a camping trip at Lake Travis when I was 11. My dad had his arm around me, both of us smiling. I unfolded the pages. The first page wasn't an apology. It was a list, bullet points, like he was trying to explain himself in the most cold, detached way possible. You were never easy to understand. You always acted like you were better than the rest of us. I'm not saying we were right, but you made it easy to ignore you. And then, your sister has problems. We all know it. She uses people. She used you. You let her. I wanted to rip the page in half. But I kept reading. The second page was where everything changed. I took out a small loan in your name 5 years ago, he wrote. I used your SSN. I promised myself I'd pay it off before you ever noticed. It was small, not enough to matter. I had no choice at the time. I stopped breathing. Read it again. And again. He stole my identity. He opened accounts in my name. And he never told me. I ran to my uncle's office with the letter. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. He read it twice. Then he looked something up on his computer and said, "We're pulling your credit report. Right now." When it loaded, I felt like the floor disappeared under me. 2 credit cards. Both in my name. Both that I never opened. Never even knew existed. The first one was a Capital One card with a $200 balance. The second was a Chase card that had been closed, but it showed a missed payment from 2 years ago. A missed payment that tanked my credit score. A missed payment I didn't even know about because I didn't open the damn card. My dad had committed identity theft, actual federal crime, against his own daughter. My uncle stood up and walked out of the room. 10 minutes later, I heard him on the phone with someone. His voice was serious, angry. When he came back, he said, "We're reporting this today. You're not letting this slide." I couldn't even respond. I just sat there holding that stupid photograph from the hospital, wondering how the man who held me on the day I was born could do this to me. But it got worse. That night, my mom texted me, "There's something in your room you need to see." I didn't let them touch it. I didn't trust anything from that house, but I asked Brandon to check. He went back the next morning and found a shoebox under my old bed. My name written in black marker on the top. Inside were old receipts, torn up greeting cards, notes I'd written when I was younger, and a letter I wrote to myself when I turned 18. It was full of hope, full of dreams. Reading it broke my heart. But underneath everything was something I'd never seen before. A bank book, from Frost Bank in San Antonio. My mom had opened a savings account in my name when I was 14. She'd been putting money in it for years. $50 here, $20 there. Small amounts. By the time I turned 21, there was $3,800 in that account. I never knew it existed. And you know why? Because 2 weeks after my 21st birthday, my dad drained it. Every cent. Gone. He thought I knew about it. He thought I'd spent it. But I hadn't. I never even knew it was there. My mom had been trying to save something for me. Something for my future. And he stole it. I sat on the floor of my uncle's guest room and stared at that bank book for an hour. Everything was starting to make sense now. The way they treated me, the way they dismissed me, the way they acted like I owed them something. They'd been stealing from me for years. Not just money, my identity, my future, my dignity, and I was done letting them get away with it. Tuesday morning, I had an appointment with an attorney in downtown Austin. My uncle drove me. I walked into her office with a folder I'd labeled in black Sharpie, "Fraud and Theft." Inside were copies of everything. The credit card statements showing accounts I never opened, the drained bank book my mom had hidden, the letter my dad wrote where he literally confessed to using my social security number. The attorney flipped through it all. Didn't say a word. Just read. After about 10 minutes, she looked up at me and said, "Your father has committed multiple federal crimes. If you want to press charges, we can file today." I nodded. I wasn't sure I'd actually follow through with everything. I wasn't sure I could send my own dad to prison, but I wanted him to know I could. I wanted him to feel what it was like to be powerless, to be scared. I left her office feeling lighter, like I'd finally taken control of something. But I wasn't done. That afternoon, my mom showed up. No warning. Just pulled up in an old Toyota Camry I didn't recognize and sat in the driveway. My uncle offered to come out with me, but I told him I needed to do this alone. She handed me a grocery bag. Inside were random things: a USB drive, some old photos of me as a kid, school certificates, and at the bottom, my high school journal, the one I thought Jessica had destroyed. My mom had saved it. I grabbed what I could, she said. He wanted to burn it all. I asked her why she was even there. She didn't hesitate. I'm leaving him, she said. I've already met with a lawyer. I've been planning this for months. Then she told me something that made my stomach turn. For years, my dad had been borrowing money from relatives, using my name, telling them I was sick, that I needed help with medical bills, with tuition, that I was going through some private crisis and was too embarrassed to ask for help myself. Don't tell Sarah, he'd say. She doesn't want anyone to know. And people believed him. My Uncle David, $8,500 for a roof repair that never got paid back. My cousin Brandon's dad, $5,200 for what my dad said was my emergency surgery. My great-aunt Dorothy, who's retired and living on Social Security in Houston, $4,100 because my dad told her I was struggling with rent. All of this happened during the same time I was working 2 jobs, the same time I could barely afford gas, the same time I was skipping meals to save money, and everyone thought I was the one borrowing. Everyone thought I was the problem. My mom showed me screenshots of the bank transfers, dates, amounts, names. I asked her why she never told me, why she let this go on for so long. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Because I believed him for too long." Then she started crying, full-on sobbing. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Part of me still loved her. But I couldn't move. I just stood there and watched her fall apart. Then I turned around and walked back inside. That night at dinner, my uncle and aunt did something I'll never forget. My uncle got up, went to his room, and came back with an envelope. He placed it in front of me. Inside was $2,000 in cash. "We've been setting this aside for months," he said. "We always knew something was wrong. This is yours. No strings." I stared at the money. I couldn't remember the last time someone gave me something without expecting anything in return, without making me feel like I owed them. I didn't touch it that night. I just sat there trying not to cry. The next morning, I got to work. I organized everything into one massive folder. Every screenshot, every text message, every photo of my destroyed bedroom, the credit reports, the bank book, the letter from my dad, even the email from his boss. I wrote 5 words on the front in black Sharpie. "You don't own me anymore." Then I drove to my parents' house in Dallas. I didn't go inside. I didn't knock. I just walked up to the mailbox, shoved the folder inside, and left. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel powerful. I just felt free. Like I'd finally escaped a prison I didn't even know I was in. A prison they built around me. One joke, one dismissal, one theft at a time. And now, they were the ones trapped. Trapped with the consequences of everything they'd done. 2 weeks passed. Not a single word from any of them. No angry texts. No guilt-laced voicemails. No dramatic Facebook posts from my dad. Just silence. And that silence scared me more than all their chaos ever did. Because silence meant something had shifted. Silence meant they knew they'd gone too far. Or maybe it just meant they were regrouping, planning something worse. I didn't know. And honestly, I stopped caring. During those 2 weeks, I focused on rebuilding. My uncle drove me to meet with the attorney again. We filed the identity theft reports with all 3 credit agencies. We flagged my social security number. We opened investigations into the accounts my dad had opened in my name. The attorney asked me one question before we finalized everything. Are you doing this for justice or closure? I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, both. Because I needed both. I needed him to face consequences. But I also needed to prove to myself that I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. By the 3rd week, things started to feel different. I woke up one morning and realized my chest didn't feel tight. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I got a new job through my Aunt Margaret's co-worker. Office admin work in Georgetown. Steady hours. Good pay. Normal people who didn't scream at each other or steal from each other. I kept my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the time. I stopped checking social media. I stopped looking for their names in my notifications. I started to feel like a real person again. Not a punching bag. Not a servant. Just me. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message I didn't expect. From my brother Mike. Can we meet? I stared at it for a long time. If it had been Jessica, I would have blocked it immediately. But something about Mike's message felt different. Less entitled. More human? I agreed to meet him, but I picked the place. A Denny's off I-35. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. I got there first. Ordered coffee. Waited. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. He looked smaller. Slouched. No smugness. No arrogance. Just tired. He sat down across from me and didn't say hi. Didn't ask how I was. The first words out of his mouth were, Dad's unraveling. He told me everything. Mom had filed for divorce. She'd moved into a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in Cedar Park near her sister. Dad didn't fight it. He just let it happen. And then he started drinking more. Calling old friends at 3 a.m, ranting about how everyone had abandoned him. He missed work. Got written up. His boss was 1 step away from firing him. Then Mike said something that made my stomach drop. He thinks you're pressing charges. I didn't confirm or deny. I just let him keep talking. He told me about Jessica. She'd tried to open another credit card in my name. Even after everything. Even after I'd closed the accounts and frozen my credit. She tried anyway. And she got flagged. Instantly. The system caught her. She freaked out. Packed a bag. Left Texas. Didn't tell anyone where she was going. Blocked Mike. Blocked Mom. Just disappeared. Mike looked at me and said, She told me you ruined her life. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It just came out. A sharp, bitter laugh. He stared at me for a second. Then he said something I never expected. I used to think you were dramatic. But I was just blind. I didn't want to admit that we were the problem. That I was the problem. We sat there for over an hour. No yelling. No blame. Just honesty. Before we left, I looked him in the eye and said, Don't ever speak for me again. Ever. Don't defend me. Don't explain me. Don't make excuses for them to me or for me to them. Just don't. He nodded. We paid separately, walked out to our cars, and that was the last time I ever saw him. When I got back to my uncle's house, he was waiting in the kitchen. He asked how it went. I said, Civil. He nodded. That was good enough for him. Then he said something that made my throat tighten. You're not going anywhere. Not yet. Stay through the spring. Save more money. Don't rush into renting some overpriced apartment just to feel independent. You've got a home here. No strings attached. That was the first time in my entire life someone offered me support without a leash, without conditions, without expecting something in return. Over the next month, I settled into something I hadn't felt in years. Stability, quiet dinners where no one yelled, laundry that was only mine, a door that stayed closed unless I opened it. The legal paperwork I'd filed started triggering consequences. My dad lost his job at Henderson Construction. They ran a background check after the fraud complaint came through and decided they couldn't keep him on. No one called me asking for mercy. No one begged me to drop the charges. Jessica never came back. My mom sent one message through my Aunt Rebecca. "I'm starting over. I don't expect forgiveness." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. By the end of spring, my savings had grown. That $34,000 I'd left with had become over $41,000. I had job offers, friends who didn't know anything about my family drama, a future that was actually mine. I toured a small apartment in East Austin near the river. It was bright, quiet, had enough room for a desk, a couch, and a bed. I told my uncle I was thinking about taking it. He smiled and said, "Stay until you're ready, and make sure you're leaving because you want to, not because you think you have to prove something." So I stayed a little longer, and every single morning, I woke up and remembered one thing. They thought I was the servant. They thought I was weak. They thought I was nothing. But I was the one who held all the power. I just didn't know it yet. And the day I finally walked away, that was the day they lost everything. So that's my story. That's what happens when the people who are supposed to love you treat you like you're disposable. When they take and take and take until there's nothing left. And then act shocked when you finally say enough. Sometimes the people who treat you like nothing are the ones who need you the most. And when you finally leave, they crumble. Because they built their whole lives on your back. And without you holding them up, they have nothing. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real stories like this. And let me know in the comments, have you ever had to cut off toxic family? How did you do it? I want to hear from you. I'll see you in the next one.